Let me paint you a picture. You wake up, go to a job that pays you decent money, come home, maybe eat out a couple of times a week, upgrade your phone every 2 years, take a vacation once a year, and at the end of the month, you have almost nothing left in your bank account. You're not broke, you're not rich, you're just stuck. And here's the strange part. The more money you make, the more this feeling grows. You get a raise, you upgrade your lifestyle. You earn more, you spend more. It's like running on a treadmill that keeps speeding up, but you never actually move forward. This isn't a coincidence. This isn't bad luck. This is a trap. A very specific, very invisible trap that swallows millions of people who are doing everything society told them was right. And today, we're going to take it apart. Here's what most people believe about money. If you study hard, get a good job, work your way up, earn a solid income, and spend responsibly, you'll be financially secure, maybe even wealthy one day. That's the script. That's what schools teach. That's what parents say. And honestly, it's not completely wrong, but it's missing something critical, something nobody tells you about. Because here's what actually happens. You graduate, land a decent job, maybe earning 30 or 40,000 a year. Life is tight, but you're managing. Then a few years pass, you get promoted. Now you're earning 60,000. Things feel better. You move into a nicer apartment. You buy a car that isn't embarrassing to park in front of your friends' houses. You eat at nicer restaurants, then you hit six figures. You're doing well now, right? Except somehow, you're still living paycheck to paycheck. Not because you're reckless, but because every time your income grew, your life expanded to fill it. Like a gas filling a container. Your spending always finds a way to match your earning. Economists call this lifestyle inflation. Psychologists call it hedonic adaptation. We're going to call it what it really is, the first lock on the trap. Let's break this down step by step because the middle class trap isn't one thing. It's actually a system. And once you see how all the pieces fit together, you can never unsee it. Lock number one, you trade time for money and nothing else. The foundation of middle class financial life is a salary. You work hours, you get paid. Stop working, the money stops. This is what's called active income, and by itself, there's nothing wrong with it. The problem is when it's your only income. Think of it like a bucket. Every month, you pour water into the bucket, but the bucket has a hole in it. Rent, food, bills, subscriptions, lifestyle. So every month, you pour and pour and pour. But the bucket never actually fills up. You need the water to keep flowing, just to maintain the same level. Wealthy people don't just pour water, they build pipes, systems that bring water in even when they're not actively pouring. That's investments, that's business income, that's assets that generate returns. But we'll come back to that. Lock number two, the big three expenses that nobody warns you about. There are three things the middle class consistently overspends on, and they're not lattes or avocado toast. Those are distractions. The real spending traps are housing, transportation, and education debt. Most people spend anywhere from 30 to 50% of their income on housing alone. You've probably heard the rule. Spend no more than 30% on rent or mortgage. But in most cities today, that rule is nearly impossible to follow. So people stretch. They justify it. It's an investment, they say about a house that isn't actually building them wealth in any meaningful short-term way. Then comes the car, a depreciating asset that loses value the moment you drive it off the lot. But it's financed, so it feels affordable. $250 a month doesn't sound like much, until you add the insurance, the maintenance, the parking. Suddenly, a $250 a month car is costing you $600 or $700 every single month. And then there's the student loan sitting quietly in the background, taking its cut before you even see your paycheck. These three things alone can easily absorb 60 to 70% of a middle-class income. What's left isn't enough to build anything serious with. Lock number three, the psychology of normal. This one is sneaky, and it might be the most powerful lock of all. Humans are wired to compare themselves to the people around them. It's called social comparison theory, and it's deeply embedded in how we make decisions, especially financial ones. When everyone in your neighborhood drives a new car, driving an old one feels wrong. When your colleagues take 2 vacations a year, taking one feels like you're falling behind. When your friends are buying homes, renting feels like failure. So you make financial decisions not based on math, but based on what feels normal in your social circle. And here's the trap within the trap. The middle class social environment defines a very expensive version of normal. New cars, big homes, nice holidays, and designer clothes. And everyone around you is financing this version of normal, which means they're not actually wealthy, they're just performing wealth. But because everyone's doing it, it feels like the right way to live. This is peer pressure in a suit and tie, and it quietly drains your ability to build actual wealth. Now, here's where it gets really interesting and a little uncomfortable. The middle class trap isn't really about income, it's about the relationship between income and assets. Let me explain that differently. There are people earning $40,000 a year who are slowly building wealth, and there are people earning $150,000 a year who are quietly broke. The difference isn't the number on the paycheck. It's what happens to the money after it arrives. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, a book that's influenced millions of people, puts it simply. Wealthy people buy assets. Middle class people buy liabilities and call them assets. A house you live in is not an asset in the traditional sense. It costs you money every month. A car is not an asset. It loses value every year. A new phone, nice furniture, expensive holidays, none of these produce income. They consume it. An asset in the real sense is something that puts money into your pocket. Stocks that pay dividends, a rental property, a business, index funds growing quietly in the background. These are the pipes we talked about earlier. The wealthy understand something that the middle class is never explicitly taught. Your income is not your wealth. Your assets are your wealth. And there's a psychological reason this distinction gets blurred. Our brains are wired for the present. Behavioral economists call this present bias. We value things we can enjoy right now far more than abstract future benefits. A new car feels real. A retirement account that might grow over 30 years, that feels like a distant fantasy, so we choose the car every time. Until we're 55, driving a nice car, living in a big house, and wondering why we feel financially anxious despite a lifetime of decent earnings. So what do you actually do with this information? First, understand the difference between looking wealthy and building wealth. These two paths often go in completely opposite directions. The person who looks wealthy is spending money to signal status. The person building wealth is quietly directing money toward assets that grow. You rarely see the second person coming. Second, start asking a different question. Most people ask, can I afford this? But that's the wrong question. The right question is, if I buy this, what am I giving up? Every dollar you spend on a depreciating liability is a dollar that isn't compounding in an index fund or growing in a business or generating passive income somewhere. That's the real cost, not the price tag, but the opportunity cost. Third, reduce the size of the three big traps. You don't have to live like a monk, but being intentional about housing, transportation, and debt gives you the most leverage. If you can reduce those three expenses even slightly below what's considered normal for your income level, you free up capital that can actually work for you. Fourth, start building even one pipe. You don't need to become a real estate investor or a stock market expert overnight. Start with something boring, an index fund, a small automatic investment every month. The goal isn't to get rich fast. It's to start the transition from only having a bucket to also having a pipe, even a small one, because small pipes over time become big pipes. And fifth, audit your version of normal. Look at the financial decisions you make on autopilot and ask yourself, am I doing this because it genuinely makes my life better? Or am I doing this because it's what people like me are expected to do? You'd be surprised how many expensive habits survive only because of that second reason. Here's the thought I want to leave you with. The middle class trap is not a punishment. It's not a moral failing. It's a design, a system shaped by marketing, social expectations, and financial structures that benefit enormously from you spending everything you earn. The car companies need you to finance. The mortgage industry needs you to stretch. The subscription economy needs you to forget. And social comparison keeps all of it running without anyone having to force you. The exit isn't dramatic. It doesn't require a genius IQ or a lucky investment or a six-figure side hustle. It requires something quieter and harder. The willingness to live slightly below your income, consistently, and redirect that difference toward things that grow. It's not about being cheap, it's about being intentional. Because one day, if you play this long enough, those pipes start producing more water than the bucket ever could. And that's the moment the treadmill finally stops. You're not running anymore, you're building. And that changes everything.